Launch. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary's weekly celebration of service for November 24th, 2020. I'm your current president, Ashley Wesley. Thank you for being here. Michael, please show the flag graphic for 15 seconds of respectful silence. We ask that you remain on mute and take this time to personally reflect. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Phil Eskew, who will offer our reflection.
Thanksgiving is going to take place this year on November 26th. Thanksgiving Day is an annual national holiday in the United States and Canada when we celebrate the harvest and other blessings of the past year. Americans generally believe that their Thanksgiving is modeled on a 1621 harvest feast shared by the Pilgrims of Plymouth and the Wampanoag Indians. The American holiday is particularly rich in legend and symbolism, and the traditional fare of the Thanksgiving meal typically includes turkey, bread stuffing, potatoes, cranberries, and pumpkin pie. Plymouth's Thanksgiving began with a few colonists going out fowling, possibly for turkeys, but more probably for the easier prey of geese and ducks, since they in one day killed as much as served the company almost in a week. Next, 90 or so Wampanoag Indians made a surprise appearance at the settlement's gate, doubtlessly unnerving the 50 or so colonists. Nevertheless, over the next few days, the two groups socialized without incident. The Wampanoag contributed venison to the feast, which included the fowl and probably fish, eels, shellfish, stews, vegetables, and beer. The New England colonists were accustomed to regularly celebrating Thanksgiving, days of prayer, thanking God for blessings such as military victory or the end of a drought. The U.S. Continental Congress proclaimed a national Thanksgiving upon the enactment of the Constitution, for example. Yet, after 1798, the new U.S. Congress left Thanksgiving declarations to the states. Some object to the national government's involvement in a religious observance. Southerners were slow to adopt a New England custom, and others took offense over the days being used to hold partisan speeches and parades. A national Thanksgiving Day seemed more like a lightning rod for controversy than a unifying force. Thanksgiving Day did not become an official holiday until Northerners dominated the federal government. While sectional tensions prevailed in the mid-19th century, the editor of the popular magazine Godey's Lady's Book, Sarah Josepha Hale, campaigned for a national Thanksgiving Day to promote unity. She finally won the support of President Abraham Lincoln. October 3, 1863, during the Civil War, Lincoln proclaimed a National Day of Thanksgiving to be celebrated on Thursday, November 26. The holiday was annually proclaimed by every president thereafter, and the date chosen, with few exceptions, was the last Thursday in November. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, however, attempted to extend the Christmas shopping season, which generally begins with the Thanksgiving holiday, and to boost the economy by moving the date back a week to the third week in November. But not all states complied, and after a joint resolution of Congress in 1941, Roosevelt issued a proclamation in 1942 designated the fourth Thursday in November, which is not always the last Thursday, as Thanksgiving Day. Since 1957, Thanksgiving Day has been celebrated in Canada on the second Monday in October. As the country became more urban and family members began to live farther apart, Thanksgiving became a time to gather together. The holiday moved away from its religious roots to allow immigrants of every background to participate in a common tradition. Thanksgiving Day football games, beginning with Yale versus Princeton in 1876, enabled fans to add some rowdiness to the holiday. In the late 1800s, parades of costumed revelers became common. In 1920, Gimbel's department store in Philadelphia staged a parade of about 50 people with Santa Claus at the rear of the procession. Since 1924, the annual Macy's parade in New York City has continued the tradition with huge balloons since 1927. The holiday associated with pilgrims and Native Americans has come to symbolize intercultural peace, America's opportunity for newcomers, and the sanctity of home and family. Thanksgiving will be different for many Americans this year. Less travel, smaller gatherings, memories made on Zoom rather than at the table. But one holiday tradition remains intact. NFL games will be played. Pro football and Thanksgiving have been intertwined for 100 years now, ever since 6 NFL games were played on November 25th, 1920. I invite you now to think about your favorite memories of Thanksgiving. Think about being asked by your parents, "What are you thankful for?" Think about the big dinners with your families, including grandparents, aunts, uncles. Think about when your parents came to celebrate Thanksgiving with your young children. Think about how you cooked your turkey in the oven or deep fried in a vat of oil. We all have special memories, and we all have much to be thankful for on this Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much, Phil. Okay, welcome to our guests. Our first guest will be introduced by Scott Shackleford.
Thanks so much, Ashley, and good to see everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday week. We just had a great discussion about pie, so I'm salivating already. So I'm very, very pleased to welcome my parents today on the call, Jim Shackleford and Sharon Connor, both hailing from Greenwood, Indiana. Everything sounds very remote these days, my goodness. But Greenwood it's a lovely place. We're very lucky to have you guys, so thank you so much for joining. And happy holidays, everybody.
Welcome. So glad you could be with us today. And Susie Graham has a guest.
I do have a guest. I'm happy to introduce you all to Bethany Self. Bethany is our student fundraising associate who works in our development office at Ivy Tech. And when I told Bethany who our guest speaker was today, she eagerly jumped at the opportunity to join because she herself aspires to work in the museum world down the road when she finishes her education. So hello, Bethany, glad you're here.
Welcome. So glad you could be with us today. Okay. Thanks to our producers, Michael Shermis, Natalie Blaze, Sally Gaskell, and Aaron Davis today for making everything run smoothly. And our roundabout reporter for this week, his last week, Owen Johnson. Thank you for capturing this meeting for us. Birthdays, Ron Barnes, Thanksgiving Day. Happy birthday, Ron. Jerry Pajak, November 30th. And membership anniversaries, Michael Shermis, the 29th with 9 years. So thank you so much for being such a wonderful part of our Rotary family. Rotarians in the news. The Golden Hoosier Award is the highest honor given to senior citizens by the state of Indiana. Our own Connie Shakalis wrote a special note to the HT to honor past President Joy Harder's father, Jack Kahn, as he was recognized with the award for remarkable service to his community. Joy said, "I'm so proud of my dad and so proud to be his daughter. My dad and my mom have always been amazing role models for me and my sister, Hillary, in terms of being civically engaged, volunteering, and giving back to one's community. Congrats again to Jack and your family, Joy. A wonderful legacy of civic engagement and care continues on in you so well." So we're so glad to honor Jack today. Announcements. We had another update in the HT about the Teachers Warehouse. They've adjusted their hours beginning November 30th. So shopping days will be reduced from 5 days a week to 3, and opportunities for making donations are expanded to 3 days a week. They'll be open to take donations and for shoppers Mondays and Wednesdays, 3:30 to 6, and Saturdays, 9:30 to 12:30. The warehouse accepts new or gently used supplies and materials and furnishings, and gently used is defined as not soiled, frayed, torn, or yellowed. And I thought this was especially important. If you would not give it to your child or grandchild, please don't give it to Teachers Warehouse. So good to remember, and good update there on the hours change. And thank you to everyone who volunteers and to make Teachers Warehouse run so smoothly, and to make the teachers in our community have all the things that they need to make this year possible. So thanks again. I have a special request for a holiday project from all of you. It's been so hard to be apart since March, and especially hard to miss the fellowship that makes Rotary so very special. We'll not be gathering for our holiday party this year, which I'm very bummed about because we could have had a lot of fun, but we'll save it for next time. So please send me a short holiday greeting to share with your fellow Rotarians. It's being put into a special project to celebrate the warmth of our friendship and connection. You can text me or email me a video or a photo or something that you create, and I'll take it from there. So my details will be in the roundabout, and I'll send a separate email to serve as a reminder with my phone number and my email. Please send me something. It can be anything. I've already received a few from people behind the scenes. So I'm excited to see what you guys say and share it with all of you. So happy holidays and happy Thanksgiving this week. Volunteering service spotlight. So Salvation Army, bell ringing. We still need some volunteers. See the roundabout for additional info there. And the United Way Day of Action Literacy Backpack volunteering. We still need quite a few volunteers for that. December 2nd. December 3rd and December 4th, which is next week, if you can believe it. I'll be sending a sign up after this directly that's a little bit easier to navigate. It's our traditional sign up genius, so you guys know how to do that very well. Thank you so much for being a part of this. It's really an essential program. It's going to make a huge difference in the youth in our community. So please sign up if you feel comfortable. It's very distanced. There's masks are required. They've set up a very safe, clean space for us to be. So sign up if you are volunteering, and we will really appreciate it. All right, on to the best part of today, our Happy Dollars Extra Thankful Edition. Please share what you're happy about on this particularly happy week of Thanksgiving. Anyone?
Well, I want to wish my older son a happy birthday. The year he was born, 1992, it was actually the day after Thanksgiving, and the very same thing is happening this year. So it's a recreation of that. He is the light of our lives, lives in Chicago. We won't be together this year, but I miss him and wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday to him. Okay.
I wish a happy Thanksgiving to my grandchildren, and very thankful that the runny nose that my grandson came home with from his first week of pre-K was a runny nose and not COVID.
Oh, thank goodness.
I would like to give happy dollars. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Tomorrow, Aaron and I celebrate our 9th wedding anniversary.
Oh my goodness.
A very long engagement. So we had the coolest engagement party ever in Qinghai province in Western China at a Tibetan restaurant. So yeah, it's always a fun memory.
Oh dear, I got out of, you lost me.
Charlotte, we can hear you.
Okay, I've got a whole bunch of things in front of me. Anyway, I would like to just say I'm very thankful to be in a community that makes me feel so welcome and that I feel part of. I really appreciate it, and Rotary is a huge part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte.
I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving holiday. I will be missing my daughter and her family from visiting us from Boston this year. We all decided the right thing to stay where they are. And I'm so grateful about a wonderful year pass by us. And we are so happy and looking forward for a very comfortable and quiet future for us. And I wish happy birthday to all members of the Rotary Club.
I need to get back again.
Charlotte, we still see you and hear you.
Okay, now I'm back. Thank you. I'm really not good at this. I'm not thankful for Zoom, although I am thankful for Zoom. I wish it were more whatever. Anyway, I'm thankful for all of you. Did you hear me?
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Thank
Then
you.
I have happy dollars. I would like to pledge $10 as happy dollars because my son and new daughter-in-law, who married on 10/10/2020 of all days, just acquired a house in San Francisco. They're very happy. We're very happy. And I wanted to share that with you. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Here's a weird one. I'm happy because this morning in the wee hours of the day, the NC Dinos won the Korean Baseball League World Championship for Korea. Very cool. NC Dinos. Woot.
My favorite team. I was rooting for them.
Mine too.
My facetiousness didn't come through, but I'm very happy for them. Anyone else have a happy dollar to share? Okay.
I do. It's Connie. I'm happy for Betsy, who you will be hearing momentarily. Wonderful Betsy.
Yay.
And I'll just quickly chime in to say that I'm very happy to be here after 13 weeks of being away. It's great to see so many fantastic people. I'm so thankful.
Yes. And I will just say that, like Charlotte, Zoom has its benefits and its drawbacks, but the beauty is that we do get together this way. And so I celebrate that in Rotary. And all of you, may you have good holidays.
And I'll wrap it up by saying a big thank you to all of you for continuing to be here every week. When I took on the role of president over Zoom, and it will be likely for the rest of my presidential term, I was concerned that maybe we wouldn't have people show up or people would be Zoomed out and another screen for them to look at would be the last thing they'd want to do. But really, people show up every week and keep wanting to hear our great programs and wanting to see each other's faces and have that connection. And so I'm just so thankful that you show up every week and you're here, a part of this family. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to everyone that shows up every week, that we're all together in this way. And the celebration when we're back in person is going to be off the charts. So I'm looking forward to that. And likely Sally will be at the helm of that, but I'll be there celebrating with you. So thanks again for making my term so far very delightful, as much as we can have. And I appreciate all of you, each and every one of you.
I'm thankful that you are there smiling so happily every week and being so cheerful for us. We're very lucky. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. You make me cheerful.
Well, I'm not when I'm marooned.
We won't do that to you again, I promise. Okay. It was a 1 week, one off.
Okay.
Okay, so without further ado, I am so pleased to introduce Connie Shackleford, who will introduce our speaker today.
Thank you, President Ashley. What does an artist do when she is both ambitious and talented? She launches a gallery at a prestigious university. Betsy Steeritt, once of New Orleans, is the founding director of the Grunwald Gallery of Art at IU. Betsy makes photographs, installations, objects, paintings, and videos that look into nature and the natural order. She is interested in how plants, animals, and humans are represented and how they are classified and displayed. She has curated many exhibitions and has edited several books and catalogs. As an artist, she creates paintings, books, photographs, objects, and installations. Since 1983, she has exhibited and solo exhibited widely. Her work has been included in group exhibits at the National Museum of Women in the Arts, Washington, Indianapolis Museum of Art, and White Columns and Art in General in New York, among many others. She received Visual Artist Fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and awards from the Indiana Arts Commission and the American Craft Council. She lives part-time in Ireland. To pronounce her last name correctly, remember this: the next time you are in your car, steer it to the Grunwald.
Well done. That was awesome. Anyway, thank you so much for having me here today. I really am enjoying seeing all these folks that I haven't seen in a long time in your little square boxes. So it's really nice to see you. What a privilege to be able to be here and to talk with you today. And I'm going to show you some images and pictures and talk a little bit about the Grunwald Gallery. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that I've done over the last, gosh, it's hard to say 40 years. So I'm not going to bore you too much with all that, but we will talk, touch on a few key points. So let me share my screen with you, and I would love to have questions as we go, because I don't know if that's possible with our, can you guys see that? Does that seem clear? Yeah.
Great.
Okay, perfect. So anyway, I did want to talk about the Grunwald, first of all, because I've had the privilege of being there for since 1987, and it's been really exciting, and I've really had the opportunity to do so many fantastic projects and working with so many great people. And I think that's the key thing, is that this gallery at IU is started basically as just the removal of the Eskenazi Art Museum over to their new building. And so that space became available for something, and people didn't really know what to do with it. It was just beautiful space. If you visited us before, you see that it's a pretty special space. So so in any case, in the last 40 years, we've been able to kind of create exhibits with many people, both within the university and outside. And I always say that the people that come together to collaborate on these shows are really what make the Grunwald Gallery what it is today, because it has become such a terrific sort of, I guess, laboratory for experimentation. But we also show very traditional arts, but we show experimental things too. So I'll be talking about that, and I'll also talk about my creative work, which includes painting and also photography and installation. I have a deep interest. Well, first of all, let me start. Here's where we are, right in that building. If you haven't visited us, I hope many of you have visited us, but I just want to make sure that it's clear that we're not the Eskenazi Museum of Art. We are totally separate, and we're part of the Eskenazi School of Art, Architecture, and Design, to make things very confusing. But we are part of the school. So we're a school gallery, and we show things that are experimental in nature. As you can see, this exhibit is called Reimagining Science. It's a number of collaborative projects that have to do with science. A lot of our shows deal with science, and they deal with other disciplines. So we show contemporary art that interfaces with other disciplines. I like that a lot, because what it does is it makes contemporary art more accessible to people. It makes people understand, why do people make art? And I think that is something that's very important, particularly with experimental type work. So here's a project by a very well-known artist named Buzz Spector, who's a book artist. And we worked with IU libraries to borrow thousands and thousands of books to make, this is just one of the pieces in the gallery, but it was an installation project using books. So there were architectural built sort of structures out of books. And so as you can see, people, I'd like to see people interacting with those things within the gallery space. This
this exhibit is another example of the kind of things that we do. It is a show called The Miniature. It was about all kinds of miniature art. So people that make knit little sweaters, as some people might know, our local artist Althea Crome, who was involved in this exhibit. She's pretty spectacular work. So as you can see, it's a wide range of things. We do all kinds of media. We work with all kinds of artists. We work with living artists. So everything that we do is a collaboration between the artist and us and whoever else is working on the project. So it's kind of exciting that way. It's very different than working in an art museum where you're just dealing with objects and the artists are no longer with us. It's a very different kind of approach to dealing with art. You know, we tend to go toward thematic exhibits. This show happened to be with work by an artist from India. And so, as you can see, students use our shows as part of their curriculum at IU. We also get visitors from outside of IU, groups of students from the Boys and Girls Club, or this is another installation piece. As you can see, it's experimental type work. This also very experimental contemporary work. This was a great show. It was called Out of Easy Reach, focusing on women artists of color. Here's another one that's, as you can see, living plants. That's another approach contemporary artists are using. Very different kinds of ways of thinking about art. We also have artists working with students on workshops. So this artist, Bailey Liu, who's a Chinese American artist, she actually lives in Texas, came and worked with students to create an installation piece. This is really important actually within our school because it gets the students away from just their classroom experiences into making things that culminate in a show. And that is a very important part of educating young artists so that they can understand how to, what the process is between making something and then exhibiting it or having it be part of the public. I think that's very important for their education. And this is what the installation ended up being. So it's a series of beautiful handmade paper dyed structures that were created along with these hanging threads. At the end of each thread was a needle. So there took a lot of meticulous work and a lot of the students were involved in creating all of these pieces. It's also an experiential work. So you walk in and it sort of creates this sort of environment with sort of an installation. So it's something different than sort of hanging something on the wall, which is great too, by the way. We work with students a lot. We have a lot of student shows every year and they're also doing experimental type work. So this is one example. Here's another one. Dirt, soil, plants. We never know what we're going to get in here. Sometimes we get animals. So we had some goats in the gallery one time, and that was interesting. So that brings up all kinds of questions about taking care of what students or artists want to display. You can't just sort of decide to use some goats for a show. You need to think about what are the ethical implications of using, displaying goats? How are they going to be fed? How are they going to be cared for during the length of the show? So these are things that our job here at the Grunwald is to teach them that it's not just, you don't just do what you want. You need to figure out what the implications of showing something like a live animal or something that's maybe not so safe for the public. Part of that educational process is what we do at the Grunwald. So anyway, here's my team. My team plus the gentleman in the front is Ron Richards, who's the paleontologist at the Indiana State Museum. He came down to help us with our show that we just ended. He was in charge. He's responsible for this mastodon skull that you'll see in this picture. That exhibit called State of Nature combined natural history items and some natural objects along with contemporary art by about 20 Indiana artists. We were talking about the idea of Indiana biodiversity, basically Indiana nature, maybe the past, mastodon skull, the present, what we see now, and maybe what the future might hold. So we had a lot of different sort of approaches to the project, and my team is behind here, standing here, along with Ron Richards, as we were deinstalling the mastodon skull a couple days ago. So this is what the show actually looked like. It looked like this. If anybody was able to visit it, I hope you were. If you couldn't, that's okay, because it still exists online. Yay! Everything's online, isn't it? But even though we're tired of looking at the box, it's really been actually very good for us at the Grunwald to get our exhibits sort of start to think about the virtual and how can those shows live on virtually after the show is down. So we've done quite a bit by putting this exhibit, State of Nature. Here's another view of State of Nature. Onto a 3D Matterport platform that is available to anyone, and you can actually walk through the exhibit. I'll show you how to access that. That's been really a good thing for us. So as you can see, this State of Nature had a lot of experimental stuff. This work over here is Maria Whiteman's work with mycology. We had the Mega Jeff. I don't know if anybody's aware of Mega Jeff, but it's the mastodon, sorry, not mastodon, ground sloth that was that was 3D printed and created by the Geological and Water Survey folks. We had some other works by artists from all over the state. This particular work in the front here used Indiana soil in her work. And then we had some wolves. So wolves used to live in Indiana. They don't now, of course. They became extinct in Indiana in 1908. But we thought that it would be interesting to represent that they did live here. I don't think people realize it. And I think the whole plan for this show was really to educate people about what was here, what is here, and what might be here in the future. And so we can pay a little bit more attention to nature, our nature around us. Indiana happens to be a really beautiful state. So I'm just going to show you that Matterport thing really quick. Let me see, so wait. Can you see that? Or no, wait. Bring your shared window to the front. Okay, I might have to reshare just a sec. Apologies. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly show you this. This is a Matterport walkthrough. It's going to be, it's something where you can go to walk over here to read about the mastodon. If you want to, you can maneuver around the space. You can walk into this room if you like. And so it's the closest thing that I've found that can make you really see, really go to an exhibit. This has been wildly popular. We've had thousands and thousands of people seeing this thing. And it now exists through our website. So if anybody wants to go to it, you're welcome to. Here's a nice painting by Bonnie, and you can learn all about her. There's some video links as well on this. So anyway, I don't want to talk too long about it, but I welcome any. I'm going to reshare just a moment. Apologies. Just a minute. Sorry, technical difficulties here. A second. Let me just. Where's Zoom? There we are. Share screen. Okay. No, there you go. Okay, so anyway, so talking just briefly again about online shows, which we've had to do. We did an exhibit called Fallout, which has been released in several groups. It's artists from all over the world who we just happen to know about or find whose work has changed, been changed by the pandemic. So each artist has a little section, and you can go through and see their work. You can see shots of their studio spaces, and then there's some text as well. So it's been actually really a good way for us to kind of monitor how people artistic practice has changed. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to talk about painting a little bit briefly. This is the kind of painting that I have been doing. Actually, it's not really that new, but it's work that really deals with science and the ideas of science. This specific work is really about mapping, although you can see that it's an abstract work. There's a different way of working when you're painting that is different, at least when I'm painting, that's different than, for instance, when I might go out and take photographs of something. This is a more contemplative kind of work, which is very singular. It's very, you need to be by yourself, at least I do. I need to have quiet. I need to, it's a whole different way of sort of working and functioning. This work, it is really about discovery. It's about the night sky. It's about science. It's about light. These pieces were shown in Chicago and a lot of places. I just kind of got to the end of working on this. And so I basically ended up doing these pieces, and they kind of stopped. Because my way of working changed. And that's what you'll hear, I think, frequently from artists. A couple of things happened. One was we started to go to Ireland a lot. And so here's Ireland. And we spend time on the west of Ireland in County Mayo. It's a beautiful place. It's a town called Westport. And I don't know if anybody's been there, but it's pretty spectacular in terms, it has a holy mountain here, which is amazing, Croagh Patrick. And it's a beautiful place. It's got wild landscape, and it's got wild weather. And I think that's something that's appealing to me. As you can see, this is a rainy day, but this is like every day. It's like this with this rainbow, you know, it's pretty cool. There's also the beautiful history of Ireland, which is the prehistoric monuments, the stone circles, and the dolmens, and these remnants of history of the way of people in the past that are still preserved really well there and are pretty spectacular. So I started to go there with my husband, and he was kind enough to drive me around to all these places all over the countryside. I started photographing them. Here's the Connemara, which is just gorgeous, just spectacular scenery, colorful, beautiful. And here's the top of Croagh Patrick, or actually on the way up, and you can see Clew Bay there, which is gorgeous. And so this is kind of what it looks like this on a good day. There aren't that many good days, though, I got to tell you. But it led me to start doing this, these kinds of weather-related landscapes. And these are all works on paper. I started to make them when I was there in Ireland doing an artist residency at a place in Westport called the Custom House, which is amazing, fantastic artist residency. So I was able to kind of use my time there to create these sort of landscapey kind of abstract, but also weather related paintings on paper. But the landscape is a very, spectacular. And I always felt that perhaps painting wasn't really the best medium. So I began to photograph there too. This, funny enough, this was made before we started using Zoom. So, you know, I'm going, maybe I shouldn't be doing this now. Get rid of those black lines. Anyway, the idea was capturing the landscape, the breadth of the landscape. And I started to do these kinds of photographs, which are platinum prints. They are nice because you can combine the idea of brush strokes with photographic work. They're an old 19th century process. These images I like because I think they capture the romantic quality of the place. Even though they're not color, but they do have that sort of sense of atmosphere. And then I started to do more things with photography and video. I began making books. I do all kinds of things with video as well, related to collections and museums, the way that museums preserve things. That's really what this is about. This exhibit was at DePaul University at their Peeler Art Center, which is a great place. And they were able to accommodate a lot of this work. I did some collecting of items like the seaweed here from Ireland. And so this piece, these pieces, along with these photographs of seaweed, were really something that I thought it reminded me of some of the early naturalists, the way that they collected items and documented them. I also included paintings, so paintings, photographs, and books. Here's some paintings of different seaweeds that I included in that installation. Working Men's Institute in New Harmony. I really started to pay much more attention to what was closer to home, Indiana history. And I don't know why it took me this long to get around to it, but it did. So I'm very pleased that I could work with the Working Men's Institute. Has anybody, I mean, I hope everybody's been there. It's an amazing museum. And they actually worked with me and allowed me to use some of their natural history items in an installation that I did in New Harmony at the New Harmony Gallery of Contemporary Art. It was fun because a lot of their stuff is really in terrible shape, like that poor eagle up there. But in a sense, they allowed me to use the things because the things were in such terrible shape. So I believe, though, that they are continuing to kind of try to conserve some of their items. And that was fun. And so they're working, their collection is very, it needs a lot of work. And I was able to kind of learn much more about what they had. Because it is sort of it was the place where science really began in this part of the world. The boatload of knowledge came down the Ohio River and the Wabash, and they settled there. So I won't go into the history of New Harmony. I'm sure many of you know much more about it than I do. So, but that interest in Indiana history and nature led me to begin to photograph some places around Indiana, southern Indiana, specifically about water. So hidden water. I'm working on an exhibit called Ebb and Flow, Indiana's Lost and Hidden Waters. And this is really about the kinds of springs and lost river, I guess, waterways that exist here. There was a big industry of sanitariums, and people would come and take the waters in Indiana. Just like every state had it at the turn of the century or a little bit before. So a colleague and I have been going around to visiting some of these places. This happens to be Spout Springs outside of Shoals, Indiana, and it is a really spectacular place because it's near Beaver Bend bluffs. that is a natural area. But as you can see, this is actually, there's actually a spring under here where people would come and collect water to drink. It is a place where Native Americans also used. And so we've been going to these places, but also, as you can see in this picture, here's a little postcard from Spout Springs from the turn of the century, or maybe a little bit before, of people collecting water there. So there's a history of this tourism and people visiting these sites. This one is more of, this one is Donaldson Cave in Spring Mill, which is a beautiful cave, but water is a part of this landscape. And as you can see, here's an old picture of Carl Eigenmann in front of Donaldson Cave in Spring Mill Park. So I'm looking at the history of these places, but I'm also looking at their natural beauty and what their role was. This is Trinity Springs in outside of, I forgot where it is now. It's down in southern Indiana. Sorry, but also a really interesting site that is had an old sanitarium, several sanitariums are in that area, old hotels. People would visit and they would take the waters. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is very brief, but because it's just in the sort of in the middle of it. It's a show that we're working on called Hoosier Lifelines. And it's an exhibit. I'm working with a couple of colleagues, Eric Sandweiss, and I'm working with Lizzie Browning and Maria Whiteman. We're all working, and it's a historian team and an artist team. We're doing a show about the Monon line that went from New Albany all the way up to Michigan City through Bloomington. And we're a couple of the artists were photographing along the line, like how the landscape has changed along that line. And then also what I'm doing personally is looking at some of the historical photographs from those areas. This one happens to be Mitchell, Indiana, which was another spot. So it's been really fun because it's allowed me to learn more about Indiana. Here's Bloomington. So here's Switchard Park, which is where the old McDowell Yard was. Here is a shot, and I can't remember the photographer's name of the center image there, but the centennial of the Monon in Bloomington. And I can't remember what date that is. It's in the 40s. And then this is the old turntable switchyard from the 70s, I believe, before it was demolished. So in any case, I believe that's it. Yeah. I hope I haven't talked too long. Anyway, I just wanted to express my excitement about like how much we have here in the state, how beautiful it is, how interesting it is. And I feel like there's so much that we have to appreciate, I guess. So I think that's good.
Thank you so much. We have some time for a few questions before we need to close. And are you able to stay after a few minutes to answer questions after the official closing?
Sure.
Okay, great. First question.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What is her background there? What's in her background there?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's a kudzu bed in Mississippi.
Mississippi. Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else?
There's a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I saw a great exhibit in the Grunwald of pictures of remains of Jewish life in Slovakia. Yes, that was during our naming. We became the Grunwald Gallery in 2011, and we were able to have a fantastic exhibit of photographs by Yuri Deutsch, who's a Canadian photographer, about some of the abandoned remains of synagogues and in different parts of Europe. That was a fantastic exhibit.
With some of the questions, Betsy. Liz Vital asks, how many exhibits are available to see at any one time in the Grunwald? And how many square feet do you have?
We have over 5,000 square feet. We have a good size space. We show, it depends on what we're doing at the time. We do show, I would say, some exhibits take up the whole space, and some exhibits sometimes we'll have 3 at a time. So sometimes, it just depends on how much space is necessary for each show. So sometimes you can see 2 things. Our shows tend not to be up that long, but with COVID, we've decided this semester to keep it up the entire semester. So I would say that the best way to find out is to look at our website or call me and I'll tell you. So we do try to get the word out as much as we can. We have a mailing list and we have a newsletter that we can happily add you to if you want to. Okay.
Scott Shackleford asks, do you offer virtual or themed tours for classes? I think he means IU classes.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. I do. I spend a lot of time giving tours and I try to tailor it to the group. We have IU classes in different disciplines coming in. So we address different things on those tours, but also we do have, we have other people from the community coming in for tours as well. So it's always a possibility. And all you need to do is email us at grunwald@indiana.edu and let me know what you need and we'll do it. We have a pretty small team. It's me and my associate Linda Tien, who's a program manager, and then everybody else is part-time. So we kind of bring people in and out as we need them, depending on what we're doing.
Well, thank you. I'll do that.
We have time for more, Ashley. Sarah Laughlin wonders if you know the work of Joanne Dugan because your Irish landscapes and photographs remind her of her light studies.
I don't, but I'll look her up for sure. Is she Irish? No.
Sarah, don't know.
She lives in New York.
Okay.
But Dugan, yeah, she was
okay.
Irish at some point.
So practically everybody is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been interesting to get to know the Irish arts community there. There's so many artists. It's there's so many writers too. I mean, there's just everybody's a writer. Everybody. And it just happens to be that this place that we go, Westport, is very very arts oriented. It's great.
I love looking at your new work, Betsy. Are you selling your photographs? Where do people find out about your work? I know you have some gallery representation.
Well, it's tricky because now I've been doing more of these works on paper, these paintings on paper, and photographs, and I don't really have representation now. I do have a gallery in Nashville, Tennessee that carries my work, but I don't really rely on them very much to do anything. So the best way is to look at my website. So it's betsystewart.net, and it'll give you an idea about the range of things. And of course, you can always get in touch with me if you want to know anything. So.
Well, thank you so much, Betsy, for being here and sharing that with us. I'm sure you could fill many programs with all the wonderful things you're doing, but we appreciate you carving out some time today for us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. In honor of your presentation today, we'll be giving a donation to Amethyst House. So thank you for providing that for us. And I'd like to introduce Sally to tell us about next week's program.
Indeed. Next week, another great program. We have Holly Hayes, who's a reporter for the Indianapolis Star, and she's going to be talking about a project that she's done for the Star in the wake of the George Floyd killings called The Meaning of Indiana Names.
Okay, be sure to tune in next week, December 1st, which is hard to believe, but there we are. Michael, could you please share our 4-way test graphic so we can say that together? Of the things we think,
Say,
and do. First,
is it
is it
the
true?
truth?
Second,
Second, is it
fair
fair
to
to all concerned?
Third,
Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth,
Fourth,
will
will
it
it be
be
beneficial to all concerned?
And fifth,
Fifth, is it fun?
Okay, that officially concludes our meeting for today.